everyone, it's Sharana from Pay Your Weight, and today I'm going to be reviewing and recapping The Handmaid's Tale Season 6, Episode 10, which is directed by Elizabeth Moss, is written by Bruce Miller, and just getting into my high-level overthoughts of this episode, and really of this season so far. I felt like the finale was very lackluster in my opinion, and overall, I'm not sure I'm as happy with how Season 6 played out. I do feel like the taglines of this has been going to, like, we're going to fight back, this is rebellion, this is everyone finally going to get their revenge for what has happened to them in Gilead, but I felt like we really didn't get to see that much of it. A lot of it was set up, a lot of it was just talking about what was going to happen, how to plan what was going to happen, but we really didn't get into the nitty-gritty of things until we saw episode 8 and 9. And honestly, in episode 10, it just felt like they wanted to wrap everything up in a nice bow, you know, really give everyone, you know, a send-off to their characters. We even saw some surprise faces. I was very happy to see Emily, who I thought was probably going to come back, but it was really nice to see her come back as well. But I just felt like for this season, some of the episodes that we were seeing should have been happening. Really, if not in the first 3 episodes, it should have started with episode 4 or 5 mark. Even in the voiceover as this episode opens up, when June is talking about kind of what has happened since the last episode, episode 609 Execution, they talk about how they have finally occupied Boston, how they're reaching over into other territories. Like, Boston is finally America again, is what June says. And she was like, praise F&B. But I wish we could have seen that. I would have actually loved to see, we hear that Tuello's plan worked with them blowing up the plane at the end of episode 609 because the commanders were not able to convene with the High Council and they lost some of their highest ranking commanders in Gilead, that this led a really big blow to Gilead because they weren't able to form a good enough response to what happened in Boston. I would have actually liked to see what the High Council looked like actually discussing what has happened. Like, were they worried about it? Did they feel like they can really take back, you know, Boston from the Americans? But we don't really get to see any of that. A lot of this is given in dialogue. The exposition of June telling us that they're marching, trying to get into other territories. We know she keeps talking about Colorado because that's where Hannah is. They were even given intel. Tuello gives her intel about Commander McKenzie being promoted to High Commander and the fact that he's going to be moving to DC with his wife and Hannah. But we just hear a lot of what's happening. We don't actually get to see a lot of what is happening. And if we've been building up to this over the past 5, now 6 seasons, I just felt like the audience, for everything that we went through, for everything that we've had to witness, the like very tough things that we have had to witness, I wish that we could have a little bit more satisfaction with actually seeing the handmaids, the people of Gilead who were basically in prison, to see them actually get their revenge. We only see a little bit of this in episode 8, episode 9, but I just felt like 10 was just very like this very quiet, slow, somber, just, hey, let's just wrap everything up in a very nice bow and just give everyone this nice send off. And I don't know if it was fully earned, in my personal opinion. I don't think that it was fully earned. So as I was saying, that was proven. Actually, someone was right. Someone said that they were going to do a time jump in episode 10, and they were right. We go a couple of weeks in advance, not too crazy far from where we left off in 609 Execution. But we see that, you know, Rita and Moira, they're like there with June. And they also talk about, I did think that they took Janine, and we saw that, you know, June was trying to get an update. Had they heard anything about Janine? And they said that they hadn't. So we know that that is still like a huge plot point. Like, is Janine going to come back? Is she finally going to get her happy ending? Is she going to be able to escape Gilead, but also to find her daughter? Now, I will say that it was like really emotional watching these playback scenes of her, you know, thinking about her moments with Nick, which is really interesting because Luke and June are just so estranged in this entire season that it almost felt like I wish that we would have actually given them time to really have their closure. We get that in a quick conversation when it's clear at this point we've barely seen them together this season, and even when they are together, it's clear that they are 2 totally different people than what we first met at the beginning of this series of The Handmaid's Tale. But I just wish that we had a little bit more time to have have June and Luke talk about it a little bit more, actually get that closure. It still felt like a very open-ended with their situation. Like, we know they don't need to be together. We know that Nick was really her end game, but she felt this sense of duty to Luke because this is who she was with before. But yeah, like, I don't know. I just wanted a little bit more from the relationship. If you guys want to kill off Nick, then I'm assuming you're killing off Nick for something to happen between June and Luke. I mean, honestly, I wanted Luke to stand up a long time ago, so I'm kind of happy that they decided to go their separate ways, and maybe they'll meet together when they finally get Hannah. I like that she makes this comment like God always requires a sacrifice. You know, when she thinks about Commander Lawrence, what he has sacrificed, what he has risked for this. But we do get to see June reunited with Holly and her mom. You know, she gets off the bus. They have a really emotional scene. Really perfect line that I was just like, you know, she was like, why do you have to keep fighting? We see her have this conversation with Holly that her mom overhears. So she was just like, you know, mommy has to leave you again because I have to make sure that all the little girls in Gilead is safe. You know, and she still has to go get Hannah. Like, all of this has been about her going to get Hannah. This is what she literally states in the beginning of the first episode of the series. At the end of the episode, like, she says, like, I am here to survive so I can go and find Hannah. And so it's interesting that she has this conversation with her mother, basically saying, like, somebody has to fight. Like, we are in Gilead right now because we didn't fight. And baby, if anyone knows the stuff that's going on right now, present day, I like, whoo. That was a line. That was a word. Like, she was just like, we have to fight. I even like, you know, they're fighting because this has to end now with their generation so their kids don't have to go through this. She was like, even after I'm gone, even after I'm done fighting, they're going to keep coming for my children. They're going to keep coming for our kids. Like, they're coming for future generations. And it's interesting when Mark Tuello is telling her, like, hey, like, I do this because they're making this joke about how they never sleep. And he was like, I think about my ex-wife and my son, and that keeps me going because I don't want my son to have to fight this fight. Like, I want this fight to be done, and I want to be the person that has ended all of this because they want their children to be happy. They don't want them to grow up and really have to relive all of these evil things that they have had to relive as parents. And I think it's really interesting as we get into this episode because I like the music choices of having like Fleetwood Mac. You know, we kind of see the surprise return of Emily. I was like, oh my God, Emily, hey girl, we so happy you're alive and still trying to fight. But she talks about how, June's talking about how she is just having a hard time with change. Like, now that we've taken back Boston, like, I want things to be how it was before Gilead happened. And that's not it. There's a new normal. And so I think it's interesting when she has this kind of playback and how she imagines what Gilead, you know, what America looks like now, you know, or what she would have imagined that these friendships will look like if Gilead were to never happen. We see this playback with, you know, some of our old faves. We see more Rita, Janine with her eye. They're doing this karaoke and they're singing Fleetwood Mac Landslide, and the song is all about, like, you know, struggling with change and really being open to embrace like this new chapter, like this new step that they're taking. And June is really battling with, you know, do I just stay and be a mom? Because she has this whole conflict that she thinks that she's a bad mom. We even see her go back to the carousel scene when she's lost Hannah. And she was like, mommy will always come and find you. She's torn because she's happy because this rebellion is happening and they're bringing America back, but she still doesn't have her daughter. So it's almost like she wants to hold on to this old life instead of accepting that this is her new normal. So I really love that song choice. And I did love like the back and forth and hearing her say like, mommy's always going to come back to save you. Cause I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I was just like, girl, did you forget about Hannah? Just a little bit. I know you had a lot of other stuff going on. But in the midst of all of this, then we see Mark with Serena. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie. Serena was insufferable this episode because it's just like, I hated the whole scene of Serena apologizing to June. Like, when I recall the thing, like, Beach, when you recall, you had to recall. Do you remember when you first met June and you told her if she get out of line, you ain't afraid to dish it back? So like, honey, I said she wasn't gonna get my blood pressure up this episode. The whole thing with her, like, talking about I don't have my passport, it's her telling Tuello, it feels like my life is in your hands, and he like, I'm gonna come and find you. And I was just like, ugh. I'm so sick of y'all trying to have this weird, like, romance dynamic between Tuello and Serena. But we see that he sends her to a refugee camp. He promises that he's gonna find her. He's gonna find a way for her to like get passports for her and her baby. And like June forgives Serena. And Tuello, he was like, that was really big of you. And I was like, June, because honey, when she said, I just hope you could forgive me one day, I would have been like, I will never forgive you, okay? When you take your last breath, I want you to think of me and think how I never let you have peace, okay? I'm gonna send the elephant that went to that lady's grave site, and he gonna come and stomp on your corpse, stomp on your grave. I'm gonna haunt you for the rest of your life, and I just don't want you to ever feel like someone forgave you or gave you that healing or that closure. I will never do that for you. You are trash, Serena. You are the scum beneath the bottom of my shoe. You belong under hell. If there was like an under hell, like an under hell, that's where you belong. With Fraggedy, with Warden, with everybody. That's where you belong. So no, I would never forgive you. June better than me, and it really just, I don't know. I'm just petty, and the Lord just working on my heart right now. But I just felt like she didn't deserve forgiveness. I know we're trying to like have people change and be better people. There is no way that I could ever forgive someone who has done the things that Serena has done. I don't care if you saved my life before. Like, ho, it's on sight till the day I die. I would have molly rocked her right then and there. Right then and there, okay? I ain't never forgiven you. Ever, Serena, okay? But yeah, that's enough of her, okay? I mean, pretty much the only other big things that happen in this episode is we do get to see Janine. There's this new checkpoint that they've had between Gilead and America, and we see these guardians come and they're dragging this handmaid and they throw her down. June was woken up out of her sleep to like come identify someone, and then we see that it's Janine. And so she runs to her, she consoles her, but then we get another surprise because Naomi, she's upholding her promise to Commander Lawrence, and we see her with Lydia. You know, Tuello mentions that Lydia has been their ears inside of Gilead because she was released by the eyes, and Lydia has been basically giving information to the Americans, you know, trying to help them, trying to get more information so they can really like free everyone. So Naomi comes and she gives Charlotte back to Janine, and this is really heartfelt moment. But I wish that we could have actually spent more time with Janine, even seen her journey. I feel like Janine, she's such a fan favorite. She could have had half an episode on her own, to be honest. Just something, even a backstory on what Emily went through, you know, why she decided to leave to go fight, how she was still connected to her family. I just felt like we really could have taken all of these other episodes that really didn't do anything but just set stuff up over and over again. Like, we could have used some of these episodes to really flesh out some of these character arcs and really let this like journey breathe so it didn't feel so rushed. The whole thing with Janine, it just felt it felt so rushed. Like, I love that she got her happy ending, but I just hate that we were just with her for a couple of minutes, and then we honestly never saw her again for the rest of the episode. So we see that June goes back to her old stomping grounds. We saw that Tuello gives her, like, you know, the card where she has new clearance to go to her old sector where she lived as a handmaid. And then we see that she goes to the Waterford household, which has been bombed. It looks like a shell of itself from when we were first introduced to the residents. In episode 1, she looks at kind of Nick's quarters where he used to live. And then she goes upstairs and she sits in the windowsill and she kind of recites something from the book. And it's really, everyone's been telling her in this episode, like, you should write a book. Luke tells her, like, you should write a book. You should remember the people that loved you. Like, you should remember Nick. You should remember Commander Lawrence. You should remember your journey. Like, it's okay to talk about your journey. There were a lot of bad things that happened, but there was good that happened as well. And so she recites, you know, these lines from the book. And then she sits in the same place where we saw her sit at the end of episode 1 in the windowsill. And, you know, we get this final farewell from June. I love the choice of the color green that she has as well. But to be honest, I mean, I thought it was fine. After watching all of the episodes of this season, I'm kind of disappointed. I just felt like if this season promised rebellion, we didn't really get rebellion. We got rebellion like for 2 episodes, and then it was just like, oh, let's just tie everything up in like a cute little bow and we'll just see what happens. But I don't know. I was underwhelmed, very much so. Very, very, very underwhelmed. Like, it wasn't giving to me. I don't know what I was expecting. from, you know, the series finale, but you know, I just thought it was interesting. I also like how June, back to when she told Aunt Lydia, like basically thanking her, you know, blessed are those who don't stride with the wicked, kind of tying back to what Aunt Lydia said before they were supposed to hang her. And like her and June kind of having that moment where Aunt Lydia is trying to right her wrongs, but she belongs under the hell, the under hell. Like, you know, the upper room, the lower hell. That's where she going to with the rest of them. But yeah, like, I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I forgot? If I did, I don't think it changes anything with what happened in this episode. But yeah, I'm really interested to know what you guys thought of this episode. How did you feel about Emily returning, even if it was just for a brief moment? Were you excited about that? Were you excited about the moment with Janine? You know, what did you envision for the end of this series? Like, I honestly, I wanted more carnage. I wanted more blood. I wanted to see, for all the times that we had to watch people, you know, go through what they were going through, I just thought I was going to see a whole lot of carnage, people killing people. Like, I just felt like they didn't go hard enough for me. Like, if you had me on press all this time, baby, y'all would have to wipe the bloods from the streets, honey. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, I mean, hey, it is the end of an era. I have enjoyed talking about this show with you guys. Like, we have been through so much, even though I missed half the season, but we've been through so much, and I wanted to make sure I at least did the final episode with you guys. But it has been an absolute pleasure talking about The Handmaid's Tale. I will be back for the Testaments as well to see how all of that plays out. But I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on the episode. Let me know in the comment section below. What did you think about the series finale? How do you think about season 6 as a whole? And then maybe if you guys are open to it, maybe we can do like a fun live. Like, maybe I'll ask Steve Varley, like, if we can get together as a family, as a Handmaid's Tale family, and like kind of do a live and really talk about this. So let me know if you would be excited for that. I'll ask Steve if he's down for it. But it's been the absolute pleasure chatting with all of you guys over all these years. I am just doing nothing but sending all of y'all love and light, okay? Wash your hands, watch your behind, be nice to somebody. And until I see you again,